It was the year 1997, and the Rust Belt of southern Michigan had become a musical wasteland, especially for those into post-punk, independent underground math, noise rock, experimental, whatever you call it. For the pioneers of the 80s alternative revolution had left their mark, and in their wake, bands like Slint, Blonde Redhead, Brainiac, Trans Am, Tortoise, Neutrino, Dianoga, and Don Caballero were blowing the boundaries of rock and roll wide open, revealing possibilities of innovative new ways to rock the fuck out. Yet, Michigan music had reached its high water mark long before our time and rolled back into the sea of mediocrity, and the only signs of the expansive new rock world outside could be found in 2 record stores 50 miles away in the former fortress of far outness, Ann Arbor. So, against this grim backdrop, when a guy who's into Gang of Four shows up out of nowhere, gives you a tape he made, and invites you to a jam session, you say yes.
Pushed around by strong-arm monkeys. They know my lady and they stole my wheels. They're street pushers and high school flunkies, and they live to chase a horse in high heels. Just to chase a horse in high heels.
My best friend and bandmate, proficient percussionist Eric Schwartz, and I put in his tape and instantly recognized that it was the only album of an active artist out of the Jackson area that we actually liked. Kinda classic rock and a bit pedestrian for our preferences, but the songwriting stood out nonetheless. And I loved it that he had such a shitty voice and sang lead anyway. For not knowing how to sing and not letting that stop you is an essential element of rock and roll, and a sign of confidence. In the immortal words of fellow untrained vocalist Kim Gordon, people pay money to see others believe in themselves. And getting up there as lead singer when you know you ain't got a singing voice is a supreme gesture of belief in oneself. A catalyst for personal growth and development. And besides, members of the masculine persuasion who train their voices and learn to sing the right way rarely manage to sound all that masculine. A few days later, I got the phone call. Just learn a couple riffs from the album and come on over for a jam. So we practiced Defiant Giant.
It's all yours to blow. You can put it in the ground and watch it grow. All them dolls in the shadows, nagging thoughts on the gals, peeping so with all their puppet show dough. Resistance to change, man, it all seems so strange, but my old self flaws were unreliant. So I woke at dawn, like a good little pawn. I had to face my defiant giant. My toughest client. My toughest client. My toughest client. My toughest client.
And the bank.
Riding in my limousine, not trying to make a scene. All dressed up and looking clean. Getting out in my limousine, 'cause I'm laughing all the way to the bank. Ah!
we showed up at his house, a couple of miles out in the country outside Jackson, Michigan, mere minutes away from my alma mater, Jackson Community College. He showed us around, and it was plain to see that the man had it made. Surrounded by a woodland with a big backyard, swimming pool with a deck to party on, Corvette Stingray in the garage, and a big Chevy van for the band equipment. And most importantly, a spacious, well-lit basement packed with all the gear you need. Marshall half-stack, 70s PV bass rig, 2 drum kits, and a small but well-stocked recording studio. This guy was living the dream. So the session went pretty well, and thus unfolded the story of our time with Bubba Grey, last survivor of the Titanic, moniker manifested in meditation. He had recorded 2 albums in the 2 years prior, produced by our mutual friend, the openly Getty Rush fan James Shellberg, and played every instrument himself, including drums, the King's Discipline, which he learned specifically so he could record his own stuff solo. A mark of the discipline that came to characterize this unique man. And he needed bass and drums for a live band. And he was working on new songs for a 3rd album. And if we put in the work to do a good job, we'd get to play on it. A chance to play on a serious studio album would be a lofty reward, so we practiced our asses off. And I still remember his riffs to this very day. For a while, we were up in his house almost every single day in the summer of '97, by which time he had amassed a repertoire of damn near 50 original songs, and we learned them all, inside and out, and we meticulously analyzed every single detail, especially his lyrics, many of which were autobiographical, so we had to ask exactly what they meant. And obligingly, he related to us every inspiration for every line in his whole damn catalog, and thus let us in on the story of his life. Apparently, this nice guy with a badass lifestyle had made it through some dark days and weathered stormy waters. For a long line of failed relationships and bad breakups had left him contemplating self-deletion. So he checked himself into a mental institution and emerged stronger than ever before. And all this, I tell you, is public information hewn into the living rock of his lyrics. Determined to pursue a path of self-improvement, he took up Hindu meditation to get his emotions under control. Diligently practicing all instruments, playing cross-handed as a lefty on a right-handed Gibson Flying V, SG Firebrand, Ripper bass, and a classic old Fender Precision, and as a self-taught drummer, he undertook to record 1 album a year for the next 10 years, to see where that road would take him.
We got along like cats and dogs. I loved her eyes until they wept, but now I'm getting to the end of the line. So long, woman, I loved you all that time.
Given the number of real-life relationships that populated his songs, it was plain to see that there had been a great many women in his life, thus putting to rest all manosphere myths that men under 5'10" have no chance with the ladies, for the diminutive Bubba Grey had clearly racked up quite a body count. and this well before the age of 36. And the exploration of human existence that characterized many of his other songs indicated that he had overcome all fear of death at a very young age. And he developed this personal philosophy. Picture the dude in The Big Lebowski. As a 36-year-old prolific songwriter, hard-practicing instrumentalist, and handsomely compensated mechanical engineer. Focus on yourself and tune out that which does not directly concern you, was his mantra. So, no current events, no politics, and very little media. At the time, I thought it very primitive for such a smart guy to limit his horizons like that, but I totally get it now. And I hope he never changed. For if the Bubba Grey of 2023 was anything like the Bubba Grey I knew, he must have been the happiest man in America, blissfully unaware of the hyper-partisan culture wars that have permeated every nook and cranny of our society. However, almost totally ignoring the media proved to be a bit of a sticking point. For he wanted to make it big in the music business. Yet he seemed unaware of the train wreck that commercial rock had become post-Nirvana. And he sought mainstream success without realizing that the boundless freedom of the burgeoning rock underground was where true glory could be found. And there were the classic artistic differences, where I had taken to hating conventional rock so much that I couldn't stand playing his more blues-oriented and mellow songs. In the immortal words of Jim Morrison, "Take this blues riff and shove it up your ass, 'cause every song sounds the same as the last." I started acting like one of those insufferable wannabe hipster nerds behind the counter at every hip record store. And yet I'm sure we would have had a great laugh about that today. After all, it was kind of like Spinal Tap. Be that as it may, he was receptive to our input and let us pick all the songs on his live set. So we took his rockinest songs and rocked them up even more, trying to make it sound more like Shellac and the Jesus Lizard. It was a reasonable compromise. I could go on and reminisce like this for hours, but I've been writing and rewriting this script for days now, and you gotta cut it somewhere. The opportunity to play with a prolific and well-organized songwriter with a finely honed outlook on life was a formative experience, in which Eric and I achieved a modicum of personal growth while rocking our asses off at 120 decibels and endlessly discussing music nerd minutia with Master Bubba Grey.
My number one is song. This is a number one hit song. This is a number one hit song. This is a number one hit song.
Needless to say, I was thunderstruck to hear the news that he had recently left us. On February 1st, birthday and final concert of Tommy Stumpf, and the death day of Andy Gill of Gang of Four, the band that brought us all together. An eerie cosmic coincidence, should one attach any importance to such things. So, happy trails, Bubba Grey. You were a ray of rarity on a sea of sameness, and a masterful mentor on my road to rock and roll rambling. May your name never be forgotten in the chronicles of independent alternative rock, where heroes never die.
The past is gone, the legend lives on. Let go of this fear to cripple my fear. When I know that it's gone, when I cripple my fear, when I go to this magic place, and my song is a sorry but tear. The past is gone, let go of this song. This picture's so clear, this Hollywood here. The ghost of this legend lives on. The ride on my sentence is gone. The smoke of this Hollywood near, and the board and the fun disappear. The past is gone, the legend lives on. The lesson's so clear, let go of this fear. The ghost of this legend lives on. The bride of my sentence is gone. The smoke of